All right, let's just jump right in. Today's explainer is diving deep into that incredible physical and emotional eruption between Nephthys and Khnum in Lotus and Lightning. We're focusing entirely on how a simmering, unspoken attraction, especially in such a high-pressure environment, completely transforms into a defining, intensely physical intimacy.
We're actually bypassing our usual agenda for this one because we really need to plunge straight into a narrative of intense, forbidden romance and a total subversion of power. Do you still want me, Khnum? Tell me. That demand right there perfectly captures the raw, dominant energy we're about to unpack. We're looking at two highly guarded people who finally just shed their societal armor and completely surrender to each other.
So, Act 1, the garden threshold.
To really get how they reach this explosive point in the bedroom, we first have to look at the immense pressure they're under during the day. It's brilliant how their public societal masks create this desperate need for a private release valve. On one side, you have Nephthys. She's this icy noblewoman, constantly navigating the absolutely treacherous politics, petty squabbles, and the intense surveillance of the harem. She literally has to maintain total composure 24/7. And on the flip side, we have Khnum, the stoic master of works. He is literally and figuratively bearing the heavy technological burdens of the pharaoh's grand visions, using his four arms, too organic, too robotic, just to keep the kingdom running. They are both trapped in these incredibly rigid roles.
Seeking a little bit of solace beneath an ancient tree in the lush palace gardens, they finally drop their guard and confess their mutual unspoken desire. Now these gardens, with their crazy hybrid of ancient Egyptian and futuristic architecture, they serve as a sanctuary away from the prying eyes of the high priestess. So when Nephthys whispers, "Let's alleviate your burden, Khnum," you realize it's not just a physical invitation, it's a complete emotional lifeline. They are offering to carry the crushing weight of each other's worlds.
Now let's trace how fast this intimacy escalates as the sun goes down. It happens step by step. In the late afternoon, we get this shared vulnerability, Khnum admitting the crushing anxiety of his duties, and Nephthys just listening with deep empathy. Then by dusk, a feather-light touch against an ancient tree heightens absolutely every sense. As twilight hits, boom, it erupts into an electric kiss, mixing the scent of jasmine with pure lust. And finally, under nightfall, it all culminates in a passionate, desperate embrace on the grass.
The crucial takeaway here is that both characters immediately realize this embrace on the grass is a complete point of no return. They aren't just giving in to a fleeting moment of lust, you know? They are crossing a super dangerous line in a palace where literally everything is monitored. They're binding themselves to one another, sealing their fates together in a world where a connection like this is deeply, deeply forbidden.
Which brings us to Act 2, power play in the private chamber.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the physical environment drastically shifts to escalate their psychological dynamic. Moving from the open garden into her hidden chamber, the raw passion gets paired with a very deliberate, calculated shift in power. Nephthys unlocks her private sanctuary, revealing this dimly lit room with intricate stone etchings and a massive draped four-poster bed. This is her domain. The rules of the outside world, they just don't apply in here.
Usually so composed and constrained by palace rules, Nephthys claims total control in the bedroom, physically binding Khnum to force his complete surrender. Just look at this breakdown. She pushes the incredibly powerful master of works flat onto his back on the bed. She straddles him, and then, using the silken scarves hanging from the canopy, she methodically knots his wrists above his head. She restrains both his human flesh and his powerful mechanical arms, completely ensuring he cannot move.
She flips the script entirely. The text makes it so clear she fully intends to surrender herself to his touch and possession, but she yearns to dictate the terms. She wants to see this incredibly disciplined, burdened man actually strain against his restraints. She wants to watch him squirm under the sheer weight of his own unchecked desire for her.
I want you to fuck me, Nephthys. I need you. This brings us to Khnum's raw, vocal surrender. It highlights the massive emotional weight and vulnerability of his physical restraint. When she demands to know if he still wants her, he doesn't just say yes, he growls out his absolute desperation. Think about it. This is a man who builds grand, awe-inspiring structures for a pharaoh. Yet right here in this bed, he is entirely reduced to his primal, desperate need for the woman above him.
The source material leans so heavily on sensory storytelling here, and it's brilliant. Just look at the juxtaposition of his cool, mechanical arms against his warm, organic flesh as he strains against those silken scarves. The cool metal represents his duty, his strength, his service to the state, and right now those limbs are literally tied up in delicate silk. Meanwhile, his warm, organic flesh represents his human vulnerability and his pulsing need, totally exposed to Nephthys.
Moving on to Act 3, Mourning and No Regrets.
The heat of the night created this amazing bubble of absolute freedom where they could completely rewrite the power dynamics of their lives. But, of course, the adrenaline eventually fades. As the sun rises, the harsh reality of dawn sets in. They're instantly reminded of the palace surveillance, the ever-watchful eyes of Priestess Anachemis, and the incredibly strict societal roles they're expected to play. The danger of their transgression is immense.
Whatever happens, Nephthys, I want you to know that I do not regret our time together. Waking up in each other's arms, fully aware of the severe consequences that could come crashing down on them, Khnum makes this solemn, unwavering vow. Even as the guilt and confusion start clawing at them, he looks at her in that soft morning light and declares that whatever happens, he doesn't regret a single moment.
Neither do I. Nephthys echoes his exact sentiment. This solidifies that despite the massive danger, this emotional and physical connection was entirely worth the risk for both of them. They are no longer just two individuals crossing paths in the palace gardens, right? They are a united front now, sharing a secret that could easily unravel both of their carefully constructed lives. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought about the ultimate cost of their physical intimacy. They've crossed the threshold. They've claimed no regrets. But in a palace driven by intense ambition and constant surveillance, will this forbidden bond be their salvation? Maybe giving them the strength to uncover mysteries like the fabled Blue Lotus? Or is it going to be their ultimate ruin? It's a massive risk, and it's just such a fascinating dynamic to explore. Keep that question in the back of your mind as you reflect on all the complex layers of power, intimacy, and vulnerability we've unpacked today.